Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, my friends, my enemies, and generally good people and people who want to be better. It's been a while since we talked last time. We talked about different criteria for finding a life partner, wife or husband, whatever you may call it, registered, unregistered, official, unofficial, as long as it's not trespassing the laws and regulations. And especially for the Muslims, it should be only long-term and officially witnessed with presence of the bride and groom and her father or her older brother and a couple of witnesses. And there are a couple of more conditions too. So, nevertheless, what the criteria were, the first one and foremost was commonality of belief, that you have a common belief between the two of you. And in religion, for the Muslims, it means that they're both Muslim and they believe in all the concepts necessary to call yourself a Muslim, so you can enter you can enter paradise after life. However, for the non-Muslims, it's also important to have a common belief, because without common denominator, common belief, you would never know what the person may do in the next minute or next day or after 10 years. He or she may change her mind, find someone better than you, or who's perceived better than you, and or live without a cause, or just like think, okay, that's I don't want to have family anymore. I'm not ready for this. I want to go back to the streets or back to dating or whatever, or go to be a monk or a nun or whatever. So even for the non-Muslims, it's very important to have the first condition, which is a common belief, a religiosity of some sort, from Latin religio, meaning I believe, I trust. Hence also the word reliable, I rely upon. So let's say even if you're disbelievers, you can also find common way to find a common denominator between you and your prospective husband or wife, or a long-time lover, whatever that you call them. And it could be, for example, Christian rules, of the conduct, or for example, Judaic beliefs from Torah, like you cannot steal, you cannot kill, this and that, and other rules. So if you have common beliefs in something, then you know that at least in those areas you'd expect obedience to a force higher than yourself, to the laws established by a higher authority than either you or your significant other. And that's very important, because power struggle appears and arises there where people perceive that one side dictates the rules and the other side is supposedly forced by those rules. And that's why it's very important to have a third party rules, a higher order, rules of the higher order dictated by the higher order of things, be it a higher creature, or be it a higher being that commands the universe, that created the universe, that sustains you daily, that to who you would answer for your deeds after you die, and whose names are many, and the most important name is Allah, or as the Christians called him, the Father, which is a wrong name, of course, because he never had any children, and he doesn't need children. He's a being of the highest order, of the supreme. He is far exalted above having needs, or having, splitting into kids, or having kids, or having some offspring, or relegating his authority even for a second. He's the supreme in all and every aspects. So, and if there are any mistake in what I say, it's from me, and everything good that comes about it that I say, only comes from him, because he inspires me, he inspires everyone, even though we don't feel it directly. But he commands our every thought. So, the commonality, of course, it's extremely important that you clarify your common beliefs prior to commencing long-term relationships. Otherwise, if you're only guided by the beauty or by some other things like money or power or coolness, I don't know, whatever you call it, then all of a sudden the beliefs, they always take priority. Whatever person believe, it's what they grew up with, it's what the society taught them or their parents taught them to believe. It will always take priority over temporary, current, fleeting desires and wants. So one day she likes you and you're the most beautiful person for her, and then all of a sudden old thing that her grandma or her mother basically stamped into her head when she was little, the thing that surfaces, and she starts to believe that you are not the one. Because her grandma used to tell her when she was very little, and she doesn't even remember, but her grandma, for example, used to tell her he was tall and blonde, and he like was beautiful, charming prince with the blonde hair, blah blah blah. She wouldn't even remember why she has this notion, but she would suddenly remember it, and that's the ideal image of her man. And she would say, no, you're not the one. I mean, sorry, I have to go and look for my person. And you wouldn't even know, and she wouldn't even know why she would split from you, and it'll be a tragedy, especially if you have kids, and it all happens because you have not clarified what each of you believe in prior to starting living together. But very often, of course, people are guided by their passions and their, wants and lusts, and they and then they just continue on thinking it's gonna just survive and last, and never lasts, because people change, people get bored from each other, and people really don't want to. They always want something else, something new, something different. So basically, verify what your prospective husband or prospective wife or prospective long-term girlfriend, your exclusive one-on-ones, believe in the core belief system. If she is a cannibal, he's a cannibal, and he likes to eat like human meat from time to time, and you live in the West, you're probably not compatible, because the neighbors might notice, or you will go to jail, or if you are, for example, you're a strict Muslim, and your girlfriend or your wife used to have like wild parties with alcohol involved and with like friends and girlfriends, all of a sudden, that stuff happens, and you are like completely dissatisfied, and you don't understand what's going on. She doesn't treat you well, she doesn't listen to you. So basically verify that stuff before it's too late. And I advise anyone, young or old, that this thing is the most important thing in your relationships. And everything else comes after that. Everything. So core beliefs, and for us, for Muslims, we will be rewarded for them in the afterlife and in this life if we support those core beliefs and we help our significant others support them and lead that life that is prescribed for us before we were born. We will be rewarded in the hereafter. But also for just people and people who just have good core beliefs, and but they're not Muslim, they don't believe in Allah, they don't believe that anything's going to happen. They will be rewarded in this life for their justice, for fair treatment of others. They will receive good things and good tidings in this life, and they will receive their portion of this life without any diminishing. They will get treated well, recognized, remembered. But if they're not Muslim, of course they're not going to receive anything in the afterlife. That's like they stay here and they just disappear. They will go somewhere else. Where I don't want to talk about it. It's very horrible, But in this life, why they're alive? If they treat others like they want to be treated, they will receive their good portions, because the Creator, the Sustainer, the Supreme, Allah, He's just and He loves justice. And with that, let me finish with this short lecture about the first of the core criteria of good relationships, which is common belief. And we'll talk next about good character, which is an inborn quality, and we'll talk about it next time. Thank you, and have a wonderful morning, evening, or day, wherever you are in the world, and be nice, be kind. Assalamu alaikum, and may Allah reward you accordingly to your deeds.